Hey all, Hipper here. Here I have finally had some time to actually play the Amalfi a lot, and this is my review of the new Tier 7 cruiser. As you can see, I run the main battery mod 2 primarily for the traverse speed on the guns, and then I use steering gears and of course steering gears again. And for the last upgrade here, I have the main battery mod to improve the reload time, and you'll need that in this ship, definitely. So here we have the exhaust smoke, and it lasts 17 seconds, and it's really only for running away pretty much. Reload 14 seconds with my build, and maneuverability, come that to that in a second. It's 43 knots and 3.6 rudder, and the rudder is disappointing in my opinion. Now I use Membelli here, and although I don't have him legendary 4 yet, if I did, the rudder on Amalfi would only hit 3.3 or 3.4, so I'm not going to bother with that. I'll just have to accept that this ship cannot get below 3-second rudder, and so be it. And also I made some changes here to my usual setup. I don't have a full speed build. I've changed one of the inspirations to Lemonnier, and that is basically because my Lemonnier is really high level, so I can cut nearly 20% of the detection time after shooting my guns. So when I have it on this ship, I go dark after shooting my guns after 15 point something seconds, and my reload is 14 seconds. So it means that I can pretty much, when I shoot my guns, once my guns are reloaded, I can make up my mind if I want to continue fighting or back off, which is very important in this ship. You have to make that call all the time, and that's why I have taken a speed boost off. The ship is fast enough anyway, so I think Lemonnier does a much better job on this ship. Now I'll just jump into the worst part first, and I don't like the rolling smoke generator. I don't like smoke on cruisers, period, but I especially don't like this one. It has its uses, definitely, but it's not a British smoke where you can sit in it for minutes and fire away. It's purely there to pretty much get out of a bad situation, and that's pretty much it. Of course, you can also use it to rush battleships and torp them, but that's usually a one-way ticket. Although it's a lot of fun, it's not it's not that helpful to the team unless it's the last battleship left. So I'll just show you here what I mean with the rolling smoke. So here I'm approaching the enemy, and I'm just waiting to be spotted, so I can shoot at them, which is what a cruiser does. And there we have them, and I get spotted instantly as well. So already 3 ships got me. So I get off 1 salvo, and then I pop the smoke and the torp. But you see that the smoke completely blinds me. Yes, I'm able to turn safely, but I'm unable to shoot, and I'm unable to spot for my team, and it's just not very useful. If you watch my other video where I compare Amalfi to Charles Martel, I would much rather have Martel's ability to cut 20% of the detection radius instead, because that'll still allow you to spot. And not even mentioning the fact that I think Martel is a better cruiser, all in all. So anyway, that's just to show you what I mean. And here we get into a more typical battle. Now I picked this battle because in Wichita this would be a dream battle. All those big fat slow legendaries, and you only have what, 7 ships on each team. It's a cruiser's dream, and only 1 destroyer. It's and one, like, most of it is battleships, and they're slow and they're fat and they're just sitting there. So in Wichita this would be a 200k game. I'm pretty sure of that. So I'm gonna flank in this Amalfi here. I usually do that on this map because there's a huge swath of open sea over here on to the top of the map that no one actually seems to use. You can see it's almost a quarter of the map out there, and the same on the other side. It's there's a lot of maneuvering room out there. So make use of it if you're in a ship that maneuvers a lot, like this one, for example. Now notice I don't have a sonar, and of course I don't have a radar. So Amalfi is pretty gimped from the beginning. You cannot really contest caps until you're absolutely sure there's no enemies around. And if that's the case, then anyone can contest the cap anyway. You don't have to be in Amalfi. So it's a very defensive cruiser. Like in Wichita, you could have taken on this Kurfürst here, going straight at it and wiggling your behind and like avoiding all its shots while still attempting to cap, and then probably turn back once you get in within 11-kilometer range. In Amalfi, I would never attempt that. It's a squishy cruiser. It's not as bad as the other Italians, I'll give it that. And bow tanking is okay in it. Sometimes it does really well, and sometimes you get punished, especially by legendaries, which you face a lot at tier 7. And there are better cruisers to face legendaries in than Amalfi, that's for sure. So see, I have to retreat a bit here and then keep punching this guy with high explosives. The penetration on the high explosives seems to be pretty good. Like I get a lot of fires, and it's pretty easy to set fires. Better than Martel, actually, I think. Although they have the same fire percentage, so I'm guessing the penetration on the Italian shells must be better. I'll have to do a little bit more looking into that. So now we have him on the run here, and we'll try to get in a little bit closer to see if we can cap. And I always have my finger on the smoke button to instantly disappear from sight, because like I said, this ship is a squishy one, and you don't want to put yourself into harm's way unnecessarily unless you really have to. Now, as you might have noticed, the reload on Amalfi and pretty much any Italian cruiser, probably except the Abruzzi, is long. It's as long as a Targo, and that's a long time to wait for your shots to land. I have a 14-second reload. I haven't specifically spec'd into that. You can probably get it down to 13 if you use the other commander. It doesn't make much difference though. It's still a very slow reload. The shell trajectories are very nice, especially when you're picking on destroyers. It's very easy to hit them. It's almost Russian-like, pretty much. I like that. That's a very good aspect of this ship. It's much more precise than, for example, Charles Martel, which I tend to compare the ship to a lot because they really are very similar. So now I'm just trying to save my hit points here by hiding behind the islands in this like true cruiser style, because there are 3 legendaries out there, and I'm not really too keen on venturing out there by myself. But you can see just before we lost our destroyer already, 2 minutes into the game, so I will have to spot. And right now I would do anything to be in Wichita instead of Amalfi, because Wichita is just so much better at spotting. So I'm just sitting here getting in some damage while I can. I just want to see what my battleships are up to, and it looks like they're just gonna sit in the cap and wait. So I'll have to go out there and spot. There's no other option. So I mean, this cruiser is a very defensive cruiser. It's a smoke cruiser, and it's squishy, and it's very, very long. It's like it's pretty easy to citadel because it's just like huge, very long. It's hard to miss it. So now I'll get around this island here and I'll do as much spotting as I possibly can and still stay at a relatively safe distance. But just one of those shells, if they hit, actually gonna punish me a lot. Luckily, I do have health. Not very good ones though, but I do have 3 with my commander. So see that we got a fire and pretty much only shot 1 salvo. So it's a pretty good fire starter, but don't spec it for fire starting. So now I used the smoke that Kurfürst was getting very interested in me. So now I'll have 20 something seconds of peace while he turns his guns on someone else. And when the smoke dissipates or I venture out, he'll have to turn his guns again. See, we got another fire there. And it's just it's a dangerous game this year. All these legendaries, and they know roughly where I am. It's not like it's a secret. So the Kurfürst goes down now, which is, well, pretty good, because there's one less battleship to worry about then. And now my smoke is already gone now, so I had to get that Kurfürst away so he couldn't spot me anymore. So we can also see, if we look at the other flank, that's totally lost. And they only lost one ship over there, and we lost 3. And then we got rid of one Kurfürst on this flank. And all my battleships are staying in the cap. They're not even attempting to go for other caps. And you'll see later that suddenly they do, and they take the wrong path there. So now I'm trying to get them to make a move, because otherwise we'll lose this game. We're already behind. So now I finally get in spotting range of this Yamato here, and there's 2 of them. So I'll have to stay 13, 14 kilometers from them to have enough time to maneuver with this slow cruiser here. I mean, I'm an inviting target with my broadside sitting at them here, and I don't have a smoke ready to protect myself. So I'll just try to maneuver the best I can around these shots here, while keeping the Yamatos busy. So hopefully my battleships can get some shots in, and not much seems to be happening. And that's probably my main criticism of this cruiser here. Like, if you're on a good team, the enemies are gone before you get in a lot of damage with that slow reload. And you don't have enough torps like a Targo to get your damage up that way. And you can't just sit in your smoke like in Edinburgh and collect damage that way. And that's one thing. And capping in this ship is suicide, unless you have cleaned that area beforehand, and you can cap relatively safely. Like something like a Wichita, no problem. You can cap anytime, no problem. And then on the other hand, if you're on a bad team, you will struggle to carry bad players in this ship. It's just not made for aggressive offensive play. If you can stay in second line behind some like good battleship players, you'll do pretty well. But that's not really the point of a cruiser, in my opinion. And as you can see now, my battleships are starting to, for some reason, head into the middle, while they really should be taking D. I'm doing my best to pester these Yamatos here, so they keep shooting at me, because I have like 2 battleships broadside on now. Well, they will be in a minute, and that's not going to end well. So now we got a Witherer there, and he got a really, really good shot in there. So I'm just praying for my smoke to come back soon, so I can have a little bit of a breather. And here I shoot my torps, my incredibly slow torps, and that Yamato is well aware that I fired, so there's no problem for him to avoid them. Had I been in a Targo, it would be a different situation entirely. I would be able to fire 8 torps much faster in a bigger spread if I wanted to. And I would probably got at least 1 hit on that Yamato there. But as it is now, all I can do is pester him and try to waste his time by making him target me and then having to turn his guns back on my battleships. Yeah, and that's it. So now I'm alone against 3 legendary battleships, a cruiser, and a destroyer. So this is a lost battle. Even in Wichita, this would be a long shot to pull off, especially as you don't have torpedoes. So best we can do now is get in as much damage as we can, and just try to stay alive, because we're running out of points anyway, and it's this is definitely not a ship that's made for carrying bad teams. Let's put it that way. There are much better options for that. So here we are, end of the battle, and we made 147,000 damage, which is really good, but we didn't have much impact on the battle. We were like a fly that the Yamatos were swatting once in a while to get away, but that's it. Did the best, but if you don't have a good team to rely on in this ship, it won't do very well. But sure, it's a fun ship, and the rolling smoke is like situationally amusing and entertaining to use. And it's not a bad cruiser at tier 7 at all. It's probably below average. It's much better than Sarah, and it's way, way better than Abruzzi. It's without doubt the best Italian cruiser, but it is not the best tier 7 cruiser by a long shot, unfortunately.